Welcome to the People's Success Circle podcast. I'm Mindy East, and in this series, we are breaking down what I like to call the big disconnect. This is when employers and hiring managers say they can't find good people, and when job seekers say they can't find a job. There is a breakdown of hiring on both sides. In episode 1, we uncovered why so many job seekers are having a hard time landing a position and why companies say they can't find top talent. Last week in episode 2, we tackled the hiring mistakes many companies are making, and today, in episode 3, we're flipping the script to talk about the mistakes that job seekers are making. If you've been applying and not hearing back, not getting through the interviews, or feeling like you are lost in the job search process, this episode is for you. I'll uncover the 6 biggest mistakes that job seekers are making and, of course, how to fix them. Let's dive in. When a job seeker calls me and asks for my help, the very first thing that I do is what I call a litmus test to figure out what's not working for them. And the first question I ask is, are you getting interviews? And if they say no, then there's 2 things that could keep them from getting interviews. First is their resume is not working in their favor, and second, that they're not networking enough. So I want to start by talking about the resume. Many job seekers use a generic resume that they've created one of, and they miss that opportunity to tailor it for the job that they're applying to. Now, I don't mean that I want you to write an entirely new resume for each job that you're applying for, but it is important to look at the job description if you have it, or talk to the person that you're networking with to learn more about the job that you might be applying for. If you don't customize, then you miss that opportunity for your resume to actually get seen by the applicant tracking system, because hiring managers and recruiters search for keywords. Remember, in the last episode, I talked about the thousands of people who apply online. So hard to get a generic resume noticed, so those keywords can really help. The other thing about a resume that I find people get wrong over and over again, possibly the most common resume mistake, is that someone focuses on creativity over content. What I mean by that is there are so many resumes out there that have graphics, icons for like your email. They could have logos on them, QR codes, hyperlinks, things like that. Most resumes cannot get past the applicant tracking system if they have graphics or images or, like I said, hyperlinks, QR codes of any kind. The applicant tracking system typically sends those resumes right to the spam folder, and you can apply, and it's like you never did, because no one is seeing your resume. So those formatting errors are a big deal. It literally means that your resume is not getting seen. The next problem I see with resumes is that people want to put every single thing that they've ever done on their resume, and they fail to make it relevant. A hiring manager only scans a resume for 5 to 7 seconds. And in that short amount of time, you need to capture their attention. So if I put on my resume things that I did 25 years ago, or I put every detail of the responsibilities I had in a job, making it look like a job description instead of a resume, I miss the chance to grasp their attention quickly. The content of your resume needs to be relevant to the job that you're applying to, so much so that the hiring manager can glance at it and decide if they want to interview you. And lastly, the thing that happens often on resumes is that bullet points are too generic. They don't speak to the success you've had and how you got that success. Instead, they read like a job description. Resume bullets need to sell you and the results that you can get if you were to get hired at that company. They can read job descriptions out there. They don't care what you did anymore. They want to know how you did it and how successful you were. So those are common resume issues that I see over and over again. So how do you fix that and ensure that your resume is working in your favor? So what makes a standout resume? First, it's using a simple template. Nothing with graphics, pictures, anything like that. You want to use a simple Word document. I don't even like resumes created in Canva because I think it's hard to know if it's going to get past the applicant tracking system. So a simple formatted resume. Make sure your resume bullet points showcase the results you were able to get in your last job and how you got those results. And they'll be able to visualize you getting that same success if they hire you for their position. Lastly, I want you to make sure that your resume is applicant tracking system friendly, that it doesn't get put in the junk folder or the spam folder. And I want you to make sure that you have keywords from the job description in your resume. Those 4 simple things can help your resume get noticed. If you are not sure if your resume meets all of those criteria, you can absolutely email me and I will send you a link to get a resume review from me or a career consultant at my company. I charge only $27 for this feature, and it's a great way for you to verify that your resume is on the right track before you waste a lot of time applying. As I mentioned, when I determine if a resume is working in someone's favor, it's if they're getting interviews. And if they're not, it's usually the quality of the resume or that they're not networking enough. So if you are a job seeker, it is so important to network. And I know that people often say, I'm an introvert, I don't want to network, or sometimes I'll hear, I don't like social media, so I don't want to use LinkedIn. But most often people say, I don't even know how to network. Networking is extremely important when you're looking for a job and when you have a job. It's proven it's the most successful way to get noticed in your job search. Relying solely on applying online often leads to a dead end. In fact, less than 5% of hires are made through online applications. They say it's actually easier to get into Harvard than it is to get hired online. So up your networking game and make sure that you're utilizing LinkedIn for networking, but that you're also going to career fairs, industry events, networking lunches, things like that, so that you're out and about, out from behind your computer and meeting people who could lead you to the next opportunity. The third mistake that I often see job seekers make is poor interview preparation. It is critical to take the time to prepare for an interview. And this doesn't just mean researching the company. In fact, I like to apply the Pareto principle or the 80-20 rule to interview preparation. Many people think that what impresses a hiring manager is memorizing facts about the company. But I have a tip for you that can really help you impress the hiring manager. I want you to think about the hiring manager or the recruiter having a need in this conversation. They need to get the job filled. As much as we think that they're going to be impressed by memorizing facts about the company, we are really impressed when someone fully understands the job that they're applying to and they can translate for us or even connect the dots for us why they are such a good match for this position. If somebody sits there kind of like almost like a firing squad, waiting for us to fire questions at them, and they seem so unsure of what we could be asking next, it shows that they're not prepared. Someone who is prepared has taken the time to lay out the job description with their resume and maybe make a line or a highlight that shows what you have as a candidate that matches what the hiring manager needs. The sooner a hiring manager can get their position filled, the sooner they can go about achieving their goals, satisfying their customers, etc. But when their position is open, somebody on the team is working extra hard. Many people could be working extra hard to cover the work of that position. So my biggest tip for somebody to prepare is to spend about 20% of their research time on the company and 80% drawing natural conclusions for the hiring manager why your background is a fit for the need that they have, the open position that they have. The other way to prepare and impress a hiring manager is to make sure you have 4 to 5 questions prepared to ask in the interview. People who at the end of the interview say, "Nope, I don't have any questions, I think you answered them all for me," are not as impressive as somebody who has taken the time to read through the description, come up with questions, and can have that two-way conversation in the interview. Plan to take at least an hour to prepare for every interview you have so that you can show up and wow the hiring manager. Mistake number 4 that job seekers make is that they don't know how to sell themselves and show the hiring manager how they can add value if they join the team. Hiring managers are looking for evidence of times and situations that a job seeker has been able to prove their leadership competencies. This often happens in behavioral interview questions, or sometimes they're called competency-based interview questions, where the interviewer will ask you things like, "Tell me about a time when." When they're asking that, they really are looking for specific situations that you've been able to show a leadership competency. For an example, somebody might say, "We've all had times when things didn't go our way and when we weren't as successful as we wanted to be. Tell me about a time this happened to you. What was the situation and what was the outcome?" The hiring manager is looking for a specific situation for every type of competency-based question that they ask. So in order to be prepared for the interview to the level of being able to demonstrate times and experiences where you were able to perform a leadership competency, you've got to prepare what those scenarios are. When a candidate can demonstrate through experience the things that they've done and explain them clearly to a hiring manager, the hiring manager can start to envision the candidate on their role achieving the same things. These questions are typically answered with what's called the STAR method, where someone talks about the situation, the task at hand, the action they took, and the result of that. It's very easy for someone to say all the good things about their background and all the good things they can do, but when they can demonstrate it with scenarios and actions, that hiring manager is going to be impressed. A strong candidate will describe scenarios that demonstrate achievements, metrics, and results. The 5th mistake is not having a strong online presence. I have many job seekers tell me that they don't like LinkedIn, or they don't want to use LinkedIn, or they consider it social media. Here's the issue with that. Even though LinkedIn is an online platform and has some similarities to social media, it's actually a networking platform. Job seekers overlook the fact that it is a strategic networking tool that can help connect them to the right people at the right companies that they're interested in. Many job seekers will have an outdated or an incomplete profile, or a profile that's just not optimized and set up to impress a recruiter when they see it. It's important to start with a strong profile, make sure your settings are correct, that it's not set to private so that hiring managers and recruiters can find you on LinkedIn, and then making sure that you post, comment, engage, and keep the algorithm alive. I also recommend being very strategic about who you connect with on LinkedIn. I'm not saying don't connect with friends and family and things like that. I think you absolutely should do that, because networking of all types helps someone find a job. But on LinkedIn, you can choose 10 companies that you might want to work at. Search the people who work at those companies, strategically invite them to join your network, and communicate with them to see if there's any opportunities at their company. Knowing how to use LinkedIn effectively will not only help you in your job search, but it will help you once you get hired to build that strong network that you will need for years to come. Number 6, and quite possibly the biggest mistake that job seekers are making, is that they don't have a strategy for their job search. As I mentioned previously in this series, many job seekers don't know how to job search. They create a resume, then wake up every morning, look at their phone or computer, see what jobs have been posted since the day before, apply, and wait. That is an ineffective way to job search, and it lacks strategy. A good job search strategy is a multi-pronged approach. I'm not saying don't apply online, but because we know only 5% of jobs are found through online applications, it's important that networking is a big part of your strategy. And then breaking down networking even further. Networking could mean spending time on LinkedIn, it could mean attending a networking lunch, it could mean attending an industry event or a job fair, but also for your strategy, looking at what times and days of the week might you dedicate to job searching. If someone does not have a plan and a strategy for their job search, time can pass very quickly. And before you know it, it's been months and months with no income or no success in your job search. So having a clear strategy of how you're going to job search, when you're going to job search, and setting goals to measure your job search progress can really help you find a job a lot faster. That's a wrap on my 3-part series called The Big Disconnect. If you've been struggling to get hired, I hope this episode gave you the confidence and the tools to take your job search to the next level. If you found this episode helpful, make sure that you subscribe, share it with a friend who's job searching now, and leave a review. It helps more people find the show. And don't forget, success in hiring is a two-way street. Whether you're an employer or a job seeker, when people succeed, businesses thrive. Thanks for tuning in to the People Success Circle. I'll see you next time.